Yeah, kind of interesting. There's this one chord that all these players have in common, or maybe more this way of playing a chord. It's found in the earliest tintype photos we have of guitar players, in some of the earliest footage we have of mountain musicians, to archival footage of rediscovered musicians of that era. A chord that connects them directly to some of the earliest paintings we have of people playing relatives of the guitar, that ties them straight to the musicians of the modern era. It's a chord and a way of playing that chord that's left out of music schools, mainstream music books, and until YouTube was just passed player to player, maybe only existed in small independent publications for folks who were in the know. You could call it the people's chord. That's kind of the core difference of what we're getting at today. I call it the thumb over chord. It looks something like this. And today I want to talk about why it's so essential to the guitar, give you a little context into how to use it, and why mainstream books don't seem to want you to know it exists. My thoughts on this anyways. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy. Not yet. What's up guys, my name is Kyle Orla and welcome to my studio. Another video for the fingerstyle guitar enthusiast, and I'm here to talk to you directly to those of you out there who are struggling with the thumb over chord technique. Lately the comments have been just blowing up with folks who are like, hey, I get it. I get that the thumb over is a thing. It's not working for me. My hands are too small, my neck's too wide, whatever it is. I'm here to give you a little, like this song in particular, the melody is so simple and it would be so hard to do without a thumb over chord. This little melody would be so hard to do with a bar chord. Yeah. No, it's just ridiculous. It's so much harder, right? So your thumb over chord, once that becomes comfortable, it just is just a matter of moving these two fingers from string to string, and your thumb just hangs out there. I love a bar chord. Don't get me wrong. I do really, before we dive into how to do the thumb chord, I do want to just really send this home that both are good. They're just different. There's different ways to play the guitar, and they're going to get you different sounds. And well, anyway, they're both fine. Why do we have to pick favorites? That's my whole thing. Why do we have to pick favorites? I mean, I definitely do pick the thumb chord. I learned the bar chords too. Now, as far as why you would do this, man, we got to dig back just a little bit, because as far back as you look, folks were hanging their thumb over their neck. Some of these early paintings of like the Baroque guitar, like check it out. Her thumb is hanging out over the neck. A lot of these early photos, thumb over the neck. So what happened? Why did it go from like very common, seemingly very common, to kind of rare? You know, small styles of music still do it, get away with it, like folk and blues, and an even smaller subset of those players actually do it. What happened? I have an idea. And I'm going to tell you. So guitar education used to just be person to person for a long time. Up until the 50s or 60s, somewhere in that era, we have one fella to thank. You can almost source it right to one person, and his name was Aaron Scherr. Aaron Scherr, who's considered the father of the American classical guitar, he pretty much opened the door to the colleges and universities to take the guitar seriously, as a serious instrument. Until then, it wasn't a serious instrument, it was a folk instrument. And he wanted to change that, you know? And it's not that people didn't study the guitar, you know, they might have had private lessons, but as far as like a music program, you were going to find that in colleges for the guitar. And the great irony is that truth almost kept Aaron Scherr from even trying this to begin with, because the schools weren't where the guitar developed. And that is some contextual truth that's really important to consider when you're trying to learn the instrument. Where did this thing develop and evolve? At the time, every concert guitar player was self-taught. A self-taught concert piano player did not exist. So the piano had a good 300 years, 300 years ahead of us as far as pedagogy went. And I think that truth kind of inspired Aaron Scherr to get his stuff together, and let's get these guitar players learning how to learn.
Because I'm here not just to listen to you play, but perhaps give some suggestions and how you learn. Yeah. That's really what I'm interested in.
Okay, so that's happening. We know that. They put that over here. You know, the guitar is now taken seriously. What else is happening during the 50s and 60s? A major musical event is taking place. How many roads
must a man walk down?
The folk revival is in full swing, right? And now everybody and their mom wants to learn how to play guitar. Well, this is where the great mix-up, the great blending starts happening, because the classical guitar techniques are now packaged up and sold as the folk guitar. The consensus is that classical technique is the technique. It's the technique to teach. It's the pedagogy. Which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense because the techniques you learn are directly correlated to the instrument you're playing. The nylon string guitar is a very different instrument than the steel string guitar. The neck profile, completely different. The way you hold your body, totally different. It brings this quote to mind that I heard recently by the indigenous writer under the pen name Jay Stanion, who wrote My Place Among Them. She says, "History belongs to those who write it." And I think the same is true for methods as well. It's like people's history versus history. What we're talking about here is a people's chord, right? Folk music is learned. Classical music is taught. And there's a big difference there. Folk music, it's picked up, right? Folk techniques, they're picked up through the years like a language. You know, you don't really, when you're learning how to talk, you don't go to school right away, right? You just hang out with your parents and your relatives and you pick it up as you go. The same is true for folk techniques. It doesn't always even have to make sense. The evidence is right there in front of you and you just do what works. Now, being taught music is very, very different because the evidence isn't always so apparent. You don't know why you're learning something. You just have trust and faith in the pedagogy that's going to take you where you want to arrive. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. That's just my TED Talk on where the thumb chord went. It went away with the bar. It went away with the bar chord.
You know what? I got to show you something. This will make it all make sense. Even Pete. It's not just that the bar chord took over. It's that the thumb has just been completely omitted from these chord diagrams. Why? I don't know why. Because, well, there are bar chords here. You know, F sharp's a bar chord. G sharp, that's a bar chord. It says right here, the bar indicated by bar chords can be moved up the neck as far as you wish. Why doesn't F get a root note? And it's not just thumb over for the F chord. That's what we've been using as an example. You know, it's also D. You can wrap your thumb over D easily. Pete was a thumb over player. He was a thumb over player. So I assume it's only to keep things simple, right? For the beginner. I'm about to go into some great detail how I think it actually makes things more complicated. If what you want to get into is the folk guitar. The techniques between the bar and the thumb are just totally different. And you're just going to get a lot more mileage out of the thumb chords. I don't want to make it seem like it's Aaron Scher's fault. There's no fault here. And of course, he didn't invent the bar chords, and there were plenty of people who were teaching guitar before him and had a great impact. I just think he made the largest sea change as far as guitar pedagogy went. Around the same time when the folk revival was in full swing. So it does seem interesting anyways. I love Pete. R.I.P. Anyway, so let's get back. I'm gonna show you just how different these two techniques really are.
Okay, let's get right to it. How the heck do you play thumb chords? Now, a lot of us learn bar chords first, which is actually the whole problem. That's actually why it's hard to play thumb chords, because you're trying to play thumb chords with a bar chord technique. I actually learned thumb chords first. I only learned bar chords because a few of my students wanted to learn how to play bar chords, and I had to learn how to do it. I didn't find them to be terribly difficult because I rotate my thumb all the time. Your thumb doesn't always stay in one place on the guitar. But I think a lot of those who are learning bar chords are learning from a method where you don't have a mobile thumb. You have more of a static placed thumb. And we're going to get into how to break away from that and how to just kind of get a more flexible thumb. So what's the right way? If you've ever investigated someone's thumb when they play guitar, if you're playing a bar chord, see how the thumb is right there. It's in back. Okay, so we can see that. If you check out when I play a thumb chord, look at what happens to my fingers. So they go from being pretty much parallel with my frets to being very askew. And it doesn't matter if I'm playing F, if I'm playing D, my fingers are not parallel with the frets. What happens when you put your thumb down like this, look at this reach I get. I mean, you get incredible reach, which is awesome for certain things, and that's why I also like to have like a mobile thumb. When I need the reach, it's there. What's hard though, if your thumb is down here, right, and then I try to wrap my thumb, it's like it can't quite reach. It can't quite reach the E string. And then your fingers have no support. Fingers are very unsupported. So this is what I've come up with to help folks, and it's an open hand versus a closed hand technique. So the opening of your hand actually affects the orientation of your thumb. So if you check out my thumb when I'm playing bar chords, look how much space is there. That's why I call it an open hand technique. Okay, so an open hand opens your fingerboard. Think of it that way. And a closed hand gives you all the reach over your neck. And that's how Merle Travis does those crazy like double thumb chords, because his hand is completely closed and his thumb can reach over his neck. Just practice holding your thumb over your neck like this. I guarantee you 100% of you out there can do this. You can grip your neck like a baseball bat, right? All you have to do is back the thumb down a little bit to just reach the F note. Why I like this closed hand technique is because now my fingers are supported. They're fully supported by the palm of my hand. I don't have any fingerboard reach anymore. I can't reach past the 3rd fret, maybe the 4th fret, but that's not what I'm after. I'm not after reaching a bunch of notes up my fingerboard. I just want to be able to reach a couple strings with my thumb, right? So 2 different techniques for 2 different outcomes. If it's still hard for you, if after all of this, you know, talking about my hand orientation and a closed hand versus open hand, and it's still super hard for you, you get yourself a capo, you bring it up as high as you need to go. Oh God, that's pretty high. Depending on your setup, the strings might be a little high, but the frets are smaller. You can practice just moving your thumb over as far as you can. Remember, start like this, start like a baseball bat, and then just move your thumb back. Keep that hand flat, splat against the curvature of the neck, and your fingers should feel supported. There's always the banjo. There's always the banjo. It's a skinny little neck. It's a skinny little neck, that's all I'm saying. We'll see you at the next one.